But okay, all those negatives aside, right? But would you say that this is a win for democracy, and Malaysian voters have shown that Mahathir was voted out, and I don't think he's not popular suddenly with, at least with conservative Malays, right? And Khairy voted out, Nurul Izzah voted out. I mean, Malaysians are really not afraid to use the vote, and the fact that we have had two transitions through elections, and of course, in between we had two other prime ministers, right? We had two transitions which went ahead without violence, which is, as you know, right, this is a remarkable achievement. But maybe because we've seen a lot of elections happen in the West, and it's nondescript, and we tend to underestimate the significance of that in Asia. So would you say, all in all, it was a win for democracy in Malaysia, or is that a bit of a stretch?
I'm going to separate that out. So democracy as a whole, so hard to say. I think actually the most encouraging aspect for me, so I mean, in terms of lack of violence, that of course is a good thing. There isn't a history of military involvement in Malaysia to the extent there is in like Indonesia, the Philippines. So in some ways it's less surprising, but that still is actually, it's actually a relief that the outside sort of non-party parties that get involved are the rulers, but not the military. That is reassuring. But the biggest thing for me that gives some hope is the turnout, because there was strong reason to expect the turnout to be in, 60%, right, or closer to 60% rather than over 70% as it was, both because of the new voters and, again, previously unregistered voters. If you didn't bother to register why would you bother to vote now? That was a real concern. But also because with two changes of government without elections, and with these sort of odd coalitions that were forming and that sort of thing, Perikatan at the 11th hour, it wasn't clear to me that younger voters in particular, but not even just younger voters, would really see a value to voting. And so the fact that there was still, in global terms, a really high rate of turnout, lower than is usual in Malaysia, but still higher than a lot were fearing, not just political scientists. That to me was really encouraging, because it suggests that despite it all, Malaysians still see value to voting, and that's important, and I hope that can be maintained. I'm not sure what specifically will help Malaysia to maintain that, but I think there is interest in a lot of sort of civic education initiatives. There are a bunch of young people who are pursuing those sorts of drives, not just amongst the converted, but also in the heartland of really why it matters to vote. The fact that there still is a strong opposition, and that opposition is a different opposition than previously, but has a shadow cabinet, is really trying to organize itself. May want to do a little bit more to recruit women, for instance, and show that they value that part of the population, just in terms of in their visible ranks. But I think that actually ensures, especially since it is younger voters who are, again, increasingly inclined to shift toward PAS, that actually is a good thing for democracy in terms of supporting them, the idea of, okay, so the way that we would support our party is by voting. And so that, to me, is perhaps the part of democracy that remains strongest, is the citizen participation. I hope that there is space within the current government for structured and meaningful participation from civil society, for instance, because that also can really deepen the sense of what it means to be a democracy in Malaysia, of the level of inclusivity, regardless of what happened. Like, it shouldn't be the be-all, end-all, who is in office, what parties are there, but also whose voices can be heard through other means. Democracy, politics means more than just the election. And so there is this moment in which not just the children of MPs and cabinet members, but others as well, might be able to help to set a policy agenda, since the government needs one, and really help to contribute to that. So all of those things give space for deepening and strengthening democracy, and are plausible under this system in which there aren't a lot of clear vested interests. There isn't an agenda. So there's actually a fair amount of flexibility that there isn't always.
On that encouraging note, Professor Meredith Weiss, thank you so much for your time and for your insights. It was really a brilliant conversation. Yeah, it was fun.
Thanks. This has been fun.
Good night, everybody. Bye-bye.